Is there any way to get justice? I know there's a way to get a conviction, but is there a way to get justice? What would that look like?
Justice is spelled one way. It's defined a million different ways. You know, justice clearly starts with a conviction. This guy clearly did wrong. Not only killed Jordan, but shot at 3 other boys. So any stand your ground defense when you're shooting 3 boys leaving the scene, I'm sorry, that does not apply. It should not apply, even though it might be in the jury instructions. Then you look at civil justice, and the civil justice system just gives money. It's really not that great. Then you look at and where Ron and Lucy excel, and Sabrina and Tracy is changing the law.
Yeah.
And really getting people, it's a butterfly effect.
Yeah.
And I like to say I was one of the first ones touched. I mean, I'm sitting here getting chills over and over and over again, and kind of like them getting drugged into this. My grandfather and great-grandfather were lawyers and judges in Mississippi who went and drafted wills for people they said they shouldn't. They shouldn't go in these African-American houses and draft wills. And, you know, when this happened, it put me closer to them and helped me understand my skin may be a different color, but we're all the human race, and we've got to do better. And I mean, my God, I've been so touched by everything this weekend. I can't even. It's indescribable.
You all just absolutely set the table.
From Studio One in New York, it's Katie.
John Phillips is an attorney who's representing the Davis family. And John, when it came to the charge of first-degree murder for Jordan, the jury could not agree on a verdict. Can you explain in layman's terms what happened here?
Corey Stroll even said he wanted the jury to pay particular attention to the stand your ground self-defense jury instruction. And it's written where lawyers don't even understand it. But what it's done is it's taken away in 2005, it took away the duty to retreat and the duty to be reasonable and try to rationalize things, and it empowered fear. And with where we are with the stereotyping of young black men, it has empowered fear even more. And so it confused the jury. And it doesn't, you know, it's so subjective, because all Michael Dunn had to do is get up there on the stand and tell an untruth and victimize the victim and confuse and hang up a couple of jurors.
I know he's appealing the verdict, Michael Dunn, and the prosecution plans to retry him on the first-degree murder charge. Do you think the outcome will be any different?
We do. You know, a lot more is coming out about Michael Dunn. We've certainly invited the public that know Michael Dunn, the real Michael Dunn, and said this victimization of the victim is not right. You know, Michael Dunn called himself the victim and the victor before this, and that's not right. That's not fair to this family. And if we've got to file defamation suits, if we've got to do whatever we got to do, we're not allowing lawyers to spin this thing out of control.
Well, let's talk about that, John. What rights does your client Rick have here when it comes to this? I know he took the picture for the AP, so is it really the AP that has to go after Zimmerman, or can Rick do it himself?
Yeah, the rights are Rick's and the AP's. The AP commissioned Rick to take this photo back when Zimmerman was charged with second-degree murder, and Rick put a lot into that. You know, he's got years of training. He picked the lighting. He's the one that decided that's the photo that they wanted to use. And if you stack, and I think I sent y'all a photo where it's Rick's photo and the painting, as we call it, within it, it's identical. It's
seamless. We're looking at it right now on the screen, John. I mean, it's identical. It's the same thing. It's pretty evident.
You just can't do it. I think the only thing he did besides add text and paint her red was he took out her crucifix. But other than that, it's the exact same. And there's plenty of precedent with a guy named Shepard Fairey who did the Obama Hope poster. You just can't take somebody's work and sell it and call it your own and sell it.
I'm going to bounce him off. John Phillips back with us, by the way, our expert here, legal and great criminal defense attorney. So it's September 9, 2008, 8-7 at the time. Some of the things she talks about, mom's pretty. She's got short blonde hair, just those things that are going to draw us in. But when you talked about the matter at hand, she talks about that she walks in, mom's in the water, there's brown stuff in the water, that's the mixture of blood and water that she sees. Dad sends me next door, he's trying to pull mom out of the tub. Mom still had her clothes on, pants and shirt, and she's all the way in the tub. What do you make of some of those facts? And that, because that's what we're going to hear here.
Right, and that was her first impression, again, before Dad got up there and made the 911 call and all of that. It's, you know, it's hard to put a 6-year-old in that situation who's going to be in immediate shock and try to determine what's accurate and what's shock-driven. And I think that's how they're going to defend it, is basically say, now, you said all that in the video, but do you really know and impeach her by the time gap? It's tough.
How do you impeach a 12-year-old and not turn yourself into a villain going after, again, a young girl?
Very delicately. Yeah, you can't. You cross that line with the jury, you'll lose that jury forever. Reasonable doubt or not, if you badger. I've won some of my best cases against some of the meanest attorneys that I don't know that I should have won, but the attorney just went way too far on the other side, and you can flip a jury in a heartbeat.
Right. Prosecute.
New York City. This is Nightline with Dan Harris.
It wasn't until today that they decided that there's a line there, and the photographs that came from that was across that line.
It can't be easy for them to even be in the same room as the man who admits to killing their son.
It's not, and it hasn't been for the past year.
Many legal experts believe Dunn needs to get up before this jury and explain what happened that night.
The family wants answers, and only Michael Dunn can give those answers.
So it seems odd, but they actually want to hear from their son's killer?
They do. It's unfortunate in America that the young black child doesn't get the benefit of the doubt.
Ada, now 12, has been influenced by her big sister, Alexis. So the jury will hear taped interview with Ada, but she'll only take the stand for cross-examination and redirect. John, explain this to us. What's the theory or the strategy here?
It's unusual. You know, basically, direct's going to be done by her videotape testimony so as to preserve it before all this influence hit. They're trying to get to what she thought before the psychiatrist and the sister and all of that possibly tainted her testimony. So then, off of the videotape, the defense is going to get to cross-examine, and then the state can redirect off of the video, off of the cross-examination, off of the videotape.
How odd is that?
It is odd, it is unorthodox, and it's not good for the prosecution because...
Hey, John, Zwicker's already testified extensively for the prosecution. So, you know, when you've got a witness that's already done so, how do you approach him from the defense standpoint?
Yeah, you've just got to put on your side of the case with your questions and you know, try to patch a defense together. Now, again, this is a crazy case where, I mean, to say the least,
exactly.
with you're laughing the whole way through, with, you know, Big Josh lying for Little Josh, but Little Josh clearly had some role in it. I don't know that Big Josh had a window to even do it.
But look at how confused we even sounded.
All right, folks, to talk about the case is John Phillips. He is the family attorney for the Jordan Davis family. And also joining us by phone is legal analyst Midwin Charles. I want to start with you, John. Clearly, the jury is deliberating. They asked for certain evidence to be looked at. The judge denied it, such as the mannequin that showed the wounds. What is the state of the mind of Jordan's parents as they await the jury's decision?
It's day 448 since they lost their son. You know, they're ready for a verdict, but they're patient. You know, they're praying. They appreciate the prayers of everybody else. It's nerve-wracking to put it mildly.
They sat in the courtroom and they watched Michael Dunn pretty much provide a nonchalant attitude on the witness stand as he described the situation and the killing of their son. That had to be extremely difficult for the both of them.
It was, and to watch him get emotional when referring to, you know, his fiance and more importantly, or least importantly, the puppy dog, and to just be emotionless when referring to Jordan Davis, you know, it just shows you the lack of heart of this man and the problems we have, and as you've seen, the problems we have with black versus white culture in this country.
And the victim is white versus the other way around.
And a lot of it comes down to representation. You know, the African-American, they tend to hire public defenders, and they're not getting quite the zealous representation that you saw Zimmerman get. And so it imbalances right there. And then let me point out that both lawyers got the comma wrong in the jury instruction. And if lawyers can't get commas right in the jury instructions, how do we expect 6 jurors who just have a ID card to be able to get it right?
But I think
economics and skin color, we've got this, and we must have this conversation. We must, as African Americans, be accepted as equal human beings across the board.
Yes, see people as human.
Human,
not
skin
colors, as human, not as white and black.
I'm telling you about a tragic story in Philadelphia. Parents denying antibiotics to their baby because they believe in healing through prayer alone. The baby dies. The story doesn't end there. This is the couple's second child to die like this. Let me bring in my legal dream team today. Who do we have? We got John Phillips, Joey Jackson, Darren Kavanaugh, all great attorneys, Florida, New York, and California, respectively. All right, gentlemen, And I use that term loosely.
Very.
Let's start here.
Obviously.
Let's start here, though. The first child dies, and the parents get probation. They were facing, I think, 20 to 40 years. They should now get the 20 to 40 years for the first child's death on a violation of probation, right, John?
Probation. That's what would make sense to me. You know, you've been warned once. We accepted your religious excuse once. Now it's time to pay the piper.
Yeah, and this one, you know, can get a little dicey because of the religious aspect of all of it.
Joining me live now, attorney John Phillips, who represents Jordan Davis's family. Thanks for being with us. Do you see parallels here between Jordan Davis's case, which you're involved in, and the Trayvon Martin case, the George Zimmerman case?
Factually, no. You know, factually, Zimmerman called 911 before the altercation, whereas Michael Dunn fled the scene, went and had pizza, and never called 911. And Zimmerman had the bloody nose photo and not a hair on Michael Dunn's head.
He went to go have pizza?
He did. He went back to the hotel after the shooting, had pizza, saw he killed a kid, went home 170 miles and never called police.
Wow.
It's exactly. And yet he's still entitled, where they are similar, he's still entitled to a stand your ground hearing. He's still entitled, like Zimmerman, to have that stand your ground jury instruction read, which confuses lawyers, much less jurors.
Okay, so self-defense being involved in here, but clearly the circumstances after which the incident had happened are different.